Want to get more out of your fleet or external repair shop? Full-Bay's fleet maintenance software makes it easy to schedule and track preventive maintenance, meaning better uptime, longer vehicle lifespans, and fewer costly emergency repairs down the line. It also tracks tech efficiency, brings order to your inventory, and just lets you keep your fleet on the road where it belongs. For more information, head to fullbay.com/transport. From Washington, D.C., this is Road Signs, with your host, Seth Clevenger.
Thank you for listening to Road Signs, the podcast series from Transport Topics that explores the trends and technologies that are shaping the future of trucking. In this episode, we're going to explore the evolution of advanced driver assistance systems and how they can improve fleet efficiency. One example of ADAS is adaptive cruise control, which automatically maintains a safe following distance. Meanwhile, predictive cruise control can improve fuel economy by proactively adjusting the vehicle's speed based on road conditions. But what happens when you tightly integrate those two technologies into a unified system? And how can additional data sources and AI make cruise control more intelligent? We'll set out to answer those questions in this episode. But before we get started, I'd like to invite you to stay up to date on this topic and other industry issues by reading Transport Topics. If you're not already a subscriber, you can sign up at ttn.ws/ttsubscribe or text TTSubscribe to 571-622-0001. And now, to learn more about the latest developments in ADAS technologies, I'm excited to bring in Tim Bauer, Global Aftermarket Vice President at Eaton's Mobility Group. Welcome, Tim.
Good morning, Seth.
So today we're discussing the evolution of advanced driver assist systems, or ADAS, for commercial trucks. So, of course, various active safety systems and advanced cruise control capabilities have been on the market for a long time now, but these systems have clearly improved over the years, both in terms of accuracy and in the level of support they provide to drivers. Tim, you've been in this industry for a long time. You've seen this firsthand. So just to begin the conversation here, I'd love for you to just tell us how you've seen these types of ADAS technologies improve over the course of your career.
Sure, Seth. So, look, I've been in this industry for over 35 years. I've seen us go from manual brake adjusters to automatic brake adjusters, and then certainly into anti-lock brakes, and a variety of ADAS systems, as you talked about, collision mitigation, rollover protection, and on and on. With each new technology, obviously, as the market evolves, the technology gets better with the clear intent of making the job of driving so much easier for the driver and to improve our industry. But as each one comes out, every introduction is a little different. And the industry starts with a slow adoption until the technology gets proven and gets to a point of, I'll say, consistency.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the more interesting ADAS approaches in the market today is this IQ Cruise system that Eaton is offering through its alliance with Traxon. So IQ Cruise is essentially a system that combines adaptive cruise control, right? That will keep the vehicle and keep the truck safe following distance automatically while in cruise control, and predictive cruise control, which is all about efficiency and operating the vehicle in an optimized way. But combining those into a unified system that really enhances fuel efficiency. So just for folks who aren't aware of IQ Cruise, haven't heard of it, just tell us a bit more about how that system works.
For sure, love to. So, look, IQ Cruise really is, as you said, combining adaptive and predictive cruise, but it takes a variety of inputs, traffic in real time, weather, vehicle weight, and then certainly information from installed ADAS radars, and combines that with high definition maps on a controller that has been custom developed to allow us to improve the vehicle efficiency. So we're looking ahead 3 to 5 miles on the route of the driver, and using all of those inputs, we're able to optimize the speed as well as the following distance and the efficiency of how the vehicle operates through the course of their travel. And those all come together with a variety of calculations that happen every second that allow us to adapt the speed to take into account what's going on around the vehicle along the path. And it doesn't sacrifice arrival time or average speed. In fact, it improves it versus what a manual driver will normally do.
Yeah, for sure. And it's again, unifying these two different approaches to partially automating, part of the driving task here. And maybe it's obvious, but why is it advantageous to integrate adaptive cruise with predictive cruise control, and how does that combination of the systems improve the overall performance?
Sure. So obviously, most vehicles are equipped with both adaptive and predictive cruise, but they come from different providers. So the
Mhm.
handoff of information and the adjustment to the vehicle performance, because of this handoff, there's a slight delay in how that all happens. So because we're able to have them combined with one system and one controller, and we add the additional real-time information, we're able to improve the vehicle efficiency and the fuel economy as we go through the calculations that we do to manage the speed while under cruise control.
For sure. And you mentioned earlier, some of the data inputs here. I mean, this has really gotten more sophisticated, more advanced over time, as we've seen in general with the evolution of ADAS over the years. But this is really an intelligent cruise control system now that's processing a lot of information. This is enhancing efficiency through live data on traffic conditions. You mentioned also taking into account road terrain, vehicle load. How heavy is the load? What are you hauling? So how does IQ Cruise use artificial intelligence to parse all this information? Right. I mean, there's so much data. There's so much information. Where does AI come into play, and how does that optimize efficiency?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking, Seth, that we've got a specially designed controller, and it was custom designed to run millions of calculations a minute through some proprietary algorithms that takes all of those inputs that you mentioned, along with the information coming from the onboard radar sensors on the vehicles, and it really determines what the right speed is based on what the topography and the load dictates as the truck's going down the road. So over time, we're using all of those algorithms with AI and machine learning to continue to learn the routes and make additional refinements, which further improves the fuel economy.
Yeah, all about continuing to learn and improve the system over time. As you continue to gather more and more data over time through systems that are out on the road. When we talk about fuel economy, it's always tricky to calculate how much any given product or system or improvement is really going to improve fuel economy, because there's just so many variables, right? It's the vehicle itself, of course. It's the load you're hauling. It's the terrain. Are you going through the Great Plains? Are you going through the Rockies? Driver performance is a huge factor in fuel economy as well. Is how the driver performs, how the driver operates the vehicle. So it is really hard to pin down precisely how much a given system will improve fuel economy. But generally speaking, just in conversations with your customers, what kind of fuel economy gains can IQ Cruise achieve in real world freight operations? I know it's one thing on a test track, but another in the real world in a real freight operation.
Yeah, for sure. And look, our system absolutely tries to align speed control and fuel economy across the entire population of drivers that are in a fleet.
Hmm.
So as we talk to our customers all the time, we talk about the system reducing the variation in fuel economy between the newest and the most seasoned drivers. But since the inception of IQ Cruise, we've run more than 26 million miles and have seen somewhere between 5 and 7% in fuel economy, usually at a cruise utilization of about 40%.
Huh. No, and that's certainly a huge number in an industry like trucking, that operates on such thin margins, and measuring sometimes pennies or even fractions of pennies that at scale can make a big difference over time. And to be sure, that delta, when I talk to fleet managers between your most fuel efficient driver and maybe your newest or your least efficient driver, that is a big difference. So you can narrow that gap, or dramatically reduce that variation in the fleet. That can make certainly a real impact. There's also a sustainability angle here, right? Because lower fuel economy, or I should say lower fuel consumption, better fuel economy. also means lower greenhouse gas emissions. And that matters for a growing number of shippers who are looking for ways to reduce their carbon footprint in their supply chains. I hear some trucking companies are having those conversations with certain very large and often lucrative shippers, some of their bigger customers, and they're interested in ways to make their supply chain more efficient and remove carbon. And yes, we've seen battery electric trucks and alternative fuels, natural gas, renewable diesel. All these options are on the market now, but there's still a lot of low-hanging fruit available simply by operating the vehicle in a more fuel efficient manner. It's a uh, even with today's technology, there's a way to do this more efficiently. Tim, how much does sustainability come up in conversations that you have with customers these days? I know it's all about fuel economy and trucking, but uh, do you hear sustainability, especially from the shipper perspective, entering the conversation more and more?
Well, look, the I think we all know the current market environment for shippers and freight haulers is challenging at best. As we have our customer meetings, we talk about both. We talk about the profit improvement from the fuel efficiency as well as the sustainability improvement that IQ Cruise can deliver. We think it's part of overall sustainability actions for a fleet if they've got goals in mind there that we could play a part in helping them achieve where they're trying to go. While we haven't really verified results, with some of the battery electric vehicles, as you talk about, we've all of the improvements that I just talked to you about are sitting in ICE vehicles, and but we believe just based on the algorithms and how they've been developed, the fuel source or the input, we can provide a range extension even for battery electric vehicles. And so we're looking as the market continues to transition on how we can find alternative applications for the IQ Cruise to even further help fleets in their operation.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to watch. And the I think the equipment market, we're in the middle of a big change, sort of a time of change in terms of the commercial vehicle emission regulations. And I suspect the shift toward electric will move at a slower pace, but there's a lot of options with the tried and true internal combustion engine, beyond diesel as well, that we're going to see enter the market as well. And it's interesting. It will be interesting to watch how some of these technologies and ADAS technologies will come into play with those as well. And we spent a lot of time here discussing efficiency for good reason, but I also want to touch on safety here, right? I mean, that's usually the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about ADAS. But how can a system like IQ Cruise help drivers operate their vehicle, in a safer manner?
Sure. So IQ Cruise, as it's designed, isn't a safety system, Seth, but because it doesn't control any of the vehicle braking functions. However,
Mhm.
we use all the information we've got and we make adjustments to following distance to improve not only the vehicle performance and the fuel economy, but also to help, I'll say, around safety. And we've all been in that vehicle where we're going up a hill and a car pulls in front of the truck and the typical ADAS systems pull back. IQ
Yep.
Cruise is taking those millions of calculations a second that we talked about and making adjustments to say, hey, we don't need to necessarily slow down the inertia of the vehicle while we're going up that hill because we know in real time what the topography is that's there. So we're controlling the speed and the driver focuses on braking and steering, which the driver can do, frankly, better than any AI electronic system can. That we know that we can make minor adjustments. And conversely, going down a hill, if you're fully loaded at 80,000 pounds, maybe the 3.5 second following distance needs to be a little bit longer. And so the AI component of what we do allows those adjustments to be made in real time.
Okay, no, appreciate that. Again, I think there's also some broader applications for all the data that's being collected here, right? I mean, this system is capturing, of course, a great deal of information on the vehicle, also the driver, road conditions. You're pulling in traffic data. How can that data support not just the driver and the cab, but also just improve fleet management, right? I mean, this is also valuable information for a dispatcher, for a fleet manager, for the back office to understand uh, how their fleet is operating. Again, how does that data transfer to the fleet management side?
Yeah, so look, we've heard from almost all the fleets that we've talked about. They get a lot of data from the installed systems on the truck, whether it's their ELD systems or other systems they've got installed on their vehicles. As we roll out and further commercialize IQ Cruise, what we're really trying to do is not only give them the data, but help draw those conclusions that can help them identify opportunities either for further engagement of the drivers or potentially for some driver training that could help them operate their vehicle in either a more fuel efficient or a safer manner. So we're trying to take all of the information and data that we're gathering, we're putting it in the cloud, and we're trying to convert it into actionable uh, items for the fleet managers.
Got it. And a question that comes to mind here, of course, when we think about a return on investment for these types of technologies, it's been a really tough few years for the trucking industry, right? The freight rates have been depressed, and it's been the industry continues to be in an overcapacity situation. Just the ratio of truck capacity to the freight that needs to be hauled has really kept a lid on freight rates. So it's been feels like kind of survival mode for motor carriers, and it has for really about 3.5 years now. And that sometimes can make it tough to invest in technologies that can make your business better. But obviously that's an easier decision to make when there's a clear return on investment. Uh, can you give us some guidance on the sort of the ROI calculations that go into deploying a system like IQ Cruise, and also just how companies can kind of find the wherewithal to invest at a time like this when they really need those efficiency gains, but it can be tough uh, to spend more than absolutely necessary on just about anything at the moment.
Yep, for sure, Seth. And look, overall, what we tell fleets as we start on the process is our goal is to get them into an ROI of 12 months or less. Now,
Mhm.
as we talk about how do you do that, and you're right, the conditions are incredibly difficult for the freight haulers in this country right now. And so, what Eaton has done is we're really trying to create the partnerships with the fleets. So, as we talk to them about deployment, we want to look at their ELD data and routes. I'm not interested in selling them a system for all their trucks. I'm interested in selling them a system for their trucks that need them. And we've talked with fleets that have used our system, and there's one in particular. We looked at all their routes, and they had 130 some vehicles. And at the end of the day, we said to them, "Look, there's only 77 of your vehicles that run routes that would achieve a return on your investment. And so those are the ones we'd recommend." And then as we look to deploy it, we work with fleets to essentially provide up to 36 months with no interest and equal payment for both the
Mhm.
monthly subscription and the hardware. So we can create custom solutions for them to, again, create the partnership and I'll just say share in the cost savings. So they don't have to necessarily put it up front. We'll share in it with them.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful, and appreciate the uh, insights on that. And of course, IQ Cruise is an aftermarket system, right? This is available across the various truck makes. But just quickly tell us how customers actually deploy the technology in their fleets. Just take us through the process of getting this installed and up and running.
Typical deployment process is usually about 8 weeks, where we run what we call a pilot. So we'll take up to 5 vehicles and we'll install them free of charge for the fleet. As
Mhm.
we go through the 8 week period, we try to meet with them every week or every other week, review the performance of the drivers. How much are they using Cruise? What are we seeing in the savings in terms of IQ Cruise generating as part of the pilot process? And so we're walking through, and typically the first 2 weeks of that 8 week, we're gathering if they don't have it, what that route looks like, and what's the fuel economy, and what's the driver's behavior, and then we're able to use that to compare against the next 4 to 6 weeks as part of the 8 week pilot process. When we get to the end of that, we actually show them here's what the savings are with your drivers in your fleet running your routes. And so then we talk with them about a broader deployment where we work with them to either train their technicians to do the installation or have an approved third party installer that they can contract or we can contract on their behalf to ensure there's proper installation. You might say, how long does it take to install it? What we've seen is typical installations, 1 to 1.5 hours, so that we can get the system installed, validate the installation. So it's not a lot of time, but we want to be able to work the fleet through it so they get comfortable. And so it's not disruptive with their operation. Our overall goal is minimal invasiveness. Don't disrupt the fleet operations. They're in business to haul freight, but let's help them make them more profitable through the technology that we're providing.
Want to get more out of your fleet or external repair shop? Full-Bay's fleet maintenance software makes it easy to schedule and track preventive maintenance, meaning better uptime, longer vehicle lifespans, and fewer costly emergency repairs down the line. It also tracks tech efficiency, brings order to your inventory, and just lets you keep your fleet on the road where it belongs. For more information, head to fullbay.com/transport.
And just zooming out to maybe look at ADAS more holistically here, we've certainly seen industry adoption of various driver assist features increase over the years. There's still a lot of room to grow. I mean, yes, some of the capabilities like analog braking and rollover stability are ubiquitous now, but you look at something more like collision mitigation, and that's expanded, but again, a lot of room to grow. What are your thoughts on ADAS adoption over time in the trucking industry? Do you expect to see that continue to expand? And what factors would drive adoption in this industry?
Yeah, so look, first, I've seen firsthand all the changes in technology you just talked about throughout my career. In every case, the adoption starts slowly and it increases as a couple of things happen. One, the drivers get more comfortable with it. They're less thinking that it's Big Brother watching them and more that it's helping them and making them more efficient and making their job simpler. And then the fleets have to be more comfortable with the performance of the systems. I've seen so many technologies that start in the aftermarket, become new technologies, move to standard on vehicles. It generally increases the utilization and adoption as the market gets more comfortable. And we're going to continue to see all of those factors keep going, right? Camera systems are in a variety of states today. We've talked about IQ Cruise. You talked about rollover and stability. I mean, all of these technologies continue to evolve as the market evolves and as the vehicles and the vehicle technology evolves.
Yeah, no, appreciate that perspective. On how it's changed over the years and decades. So, apart from ADAS, of course, we're also in the very early stages of fully autonomous trucks beginning to make their way into the industry. Right, it's in the very early days, but you mostly see the rollouts in Texas and in the Southwest. And I think it's helpful to view autonomous trucks as essentially a new emerging mode of transportation. That can make sense for certain routes, certain freight types, but not all, and it's not going to be suitable for everything by any stretch anytime soon. But Tim, what's your view on the proper place for ADAS and for full autonomy in the trucking industry, both now and in the future?
For sure. So we've seen a tremendous amount of change in vehicle technology and vehicle components over the short period of time, last 10 to 15 years. I think the path we're on related to, ADAS and autonomous trucks is going to continue to evolve. Um, I think as we think about our product today, our focus is how do we help fleets today improve their performance of their existing vehicles while
Mhm.
the other technologies continue to evolve, right? As camera systems come in, can we get better with the fleets and can we make it into a suite of technology that helps them continue to move forward with whether it's autonomy or other ADAS systems? So we see it, at least with IQ Cruise, as a path to continue to evolve the product to not only improve fleet efficiency as we work through our product roadmap, but also to improve how freight gets moved. And since we started with IQ Cruise, even in the last 6 months, we've added 3 additional features that came directly from either drivers or fleets. So we see that continuing over time as technology evolves.
Yeah, and I think certainly in the near term, and probably well beyond that, ADAS has the far larger potential reach and application for the industry, right? Can just about every vehicle on the road, I would say every vehicle on the road can benefit from some form of ADAS technology, and full autonomy is very targeted and very narrow scope today. I think we'll see that expand over time, but ADAS is something that's pertinent potentially to the entire industry. And before I let you go, Tim, I'd like to, I always like to end on a bit of a crystal ball question. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'd like to ask you to look ahead 10 years into the future. And what's your best prediction for how ADAS can continue to improve in terms of the capabilities and drive greater efficiency in the years ahead?
Yeah, certainly technology is not going to stop. It's going to continue to evolve and move forward. I already mentioned, I think we're going to see more camera systems deployed and implemented across fleets. And more importantly, I think the suppliers in this industry have always looked for improved technology to help the fleet operators do what they do best, which is to move freight that's needed as efficiently as possible and as cost effectively as possible. So, as I think about how fleets adopt technology, I'd say that, as you said earlier, they got to look at the variety of pieces. We lump a lot of things into ADAS. Which pieces can help them move their freight as efficiently as possible? And that will continue to change as our technology changes, just like it has on vehicles for the last 35 years.
Yeah. Well, hey, this has been a really fascinating conversation, but I think we're at a good stopping point here. Thank you again, Tim, for joining the podcast and sharing your insights.
Thanks for having me, Seth.
Before we close, let's take a moment to revisit our original questions. What happens when you tightly integrate adaptive and predictive cruise control into a unified system? And how can additional data and AI make cruise control more intelligent? As we've heard during this episode, there is still a significant opportunity for fleets to improve fuel economy through improved cruise control technology. By combining adaptive and predictive cruise control, incorporating data on traffic and road conditions, and applying AI to learn from that information, fleets can boost fuel economy and squeeze more efficiency out of their operations. If you've enjoyed this episode of Road Signs, please let others know. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If my questions have sparked questions of your own, share them with me and the Road Signs team. You can email us at share@ttnews.com. Also, let us know how we did by texting TT Survey to 571-622-0001. And of course, we'll be back soon with a fresh episode of Road Signs. Until then, I'm Seth Clevenger. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us. Road Signs is a Transport Topics production.